Thanks to your semi-finals day here in Coventry, the champion of champions. We started with 16, we're down to the last four. Who's going to walk away that check for £100,000? The next 2 days, we'll find out. Let's get the action underway. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, he was superb in his last match against John Higgins, winning by 6 frames to 5, playing the best snooker of his career. Please welcome Joe Perry. And from Australia, the world number 3, Mr. Neil Robertson. And now, ladies and gentlemen, a moment's silence as a mark of respect for the people that lost their lives in the tragic event that took place in Paris last night. Thank you.
Dreadful events in the real world sometimes throw the world of sport off course, but as always, after due respect has been paid, it has to be on with the game. Friends, fellow practicers, but rivals today for a place.
The first frame, Joe Perry to break.
In tomorrow's final. Joe Perry versus Neil Robertson. Textbook break-off shot, cue ball to baulk cushion behind the green. Neil Robertson, winner of 10 world ranking titles, including the 2010 World Championship. Joe Perry just with one first prize from a full ranking event, the Players' Championship last season. I think these two know everything about each other's game that there is to know, having practiced so much together. I think they will know what shots they will go for, what shots they will refuse.
In which case, Clive, it just comes down to on the day, and I guess more days than others Neil might win, and he has done in the past. He's got a better CV than this man. Joe Perry won the Players' Championship And that's the reason he's here. Neil has won 10 ranking events. Incidentally, none of those got him into the event this year, the major ones. He won in Gdynia, which is a long weekend tournament. So he's not really been picking up the big trophies recently.
Hasn't in fact won a full ranking event since early last season, the Wuxi Classic. And that was the match in which he so emotionally beat Joe Perry 10-9 in the final.
Might have a big pocket here, the red near the bottom right. It's placed such that the other one might go in easily. Yep. Absolutely as planned. I think he's on the black. Of course you can see he's a bit close to the cushion if he is. It's very tight actually. It's a real close one. I'm not so sure now I've seen it from that view whether he's on it.
The problem is getting past the red, which is between the cue ball and the black.
And even if he does, there's no follow-up red. That becomes easy with cueing from the cushion rail. So safety it is.
Neil Robertson 1.
No, tricky red to middle at best, even if he had been able to pop the black. Missed that very much on the thick side, which is why the red returned into a possible position.
One.
Well, I think this is actually potable. I think the red isn't making it in the big pocket, but it could go in off the red. If it gets anywhere near, I'm sure it will drop just directly off that red that's next to the hole. Hard to refuse it as well. If he played safe, he leaves the red over the pocket anyway. Very accurate.
Eight. Nine.
Well, there's an event.
Neil Robertson 9.
Robertson misses straightforward black from its spot.
I wonder if he was thinking about that cue ball missing the red. I think he was, maybe the cannon was on his mind. He forgot the obvious, which was the pot.
One.
Joe should take some confidence from beating John Higgins, which was back on, what was it, Wednesday now, in the group phase, last 16 and last 8 of this tournament, both played on the same day. And a win over John Higgins, something that he's not achieved very much. He'd lost, I think, 8 of 9 clashes with him. And the win was in the Premier League, which is a short format event that no longer exists. So I'm sure he was really heartened by that win in a big event like this.
Nine.
It's hard to see how he could have got through there any further. Second kiss on the red means he's faced with a very thin black if he plays it at all. If he wanted to play safe, the green is there. so he can run away.
Perry caught the second red absolutely full, so it stopped the cue ball dead in his tracks. If he caught it at even a slight angle, he would have had a better chance with the black.
Green ball. Joe Perry 9. One.
Well, that was a great long putt. Robertson might have thought there was room to get the cue ball through other reds, but the important thing was he potted the red. Forced into it by Perry's safety.
Well, he hit the red like a dream, but not so well that shot. He didn't really hit the green ball on the way back. I thought it sounded like a kick, to be honest, without going into all of that, but he didn't sound like he got the best contact there, just by the noise more than anything else.
Cannoning the green like that was just about the only way he could go wrong.
Difficult to tell from that, but it didn't sound very good and didn't look great either. The result, anyhow, as you say, Clive, anywhere else on the table there's something available to him. Well, is he going to play this plant? Goodness me, this is a very difficult shot. Wow. That's as difficult a plant as what you see, I think.
A lot of distance between the two reds.
I mean, obviously, in his mind was to just shift the red away from the pocket with that plant. That was part of it. So there was some method in it. He'll get another chance now.
Yes, Perry swung round on his heel in annoyance the way he played that shot.
One.
Robertson, one of only 10 players to have won the so-called Big Three, albeit not in the same season. That's the World Championship, the UK,
3.
and the Masters. Although when ITV's tournaments have been going a few more years, we might be into a Big Four or Big Five.
4.
Yes, I mean, this Champion of Champions is up there with how the Masters is, and obviously the Masters with a big history, and we've got great memories of the Conference Centre and Wembley Arena. Ali Pali, of course, it was played before that in London. It's got history. It's not that much history yet, but you can only get in it if you win something. So where the Masters is the top 60 in the world, this is for all the winners. So there's a real element of prestige about it.
Ten.
You're just looking at the black spot and the play on it here. The black I don't think will spot on that as things stand. I'm
11.
sure it'll go up on the highest available, which, unless I'm mistaken, looks to be brown. There is a little bit of room below the actual spot where the red is. Let's see.
Yeah, sure.
Does it squeeze on there? Referee Paul Collier with his ball marker deciding the brown is the highest.
The one thing a player is not allowed
18.
to do is to pull a ball out of a pocket and see for himself whether a colour may be respottable. I've never seen any player actually commit that offence, so I'm assuming they all know it's a foul.
19.
Wow, anything but going into the brown ball. Amazing those ball colours seem bigger than
24.
they really are actually when you're trying to avoid them through getting up and down the table. You just can't quite get this cue ball under control. He looks pretty sharp actually this afternoon. Got in some good balls already, but for some reason the cue ball is a little bit errant.
Robertson demonstrating one of his great strengths,
35.
his long potting.
I'm really pleased to see them going in because, as I was saying earlier with Alan, before the match started, you know, that's always been a strength of his and it's something we haven't seen a lot of. He's been taking a few on already in this frame and they've gone in. That was a cruncher. That's not bad.
30. $31.
Just a red and a colour needed.
37. 38. 44. Neil Robertson, 44.
A successful double would have made ultra sure of the frame, but there's still a difference of 48 with only 43 remaining.
1.
Well, he didn't really want to play the brown from that red because he loses a couple more points, which would mean 2 snookers to tie, at least 2 to win if the pink goes in.
Seven. Joe Perry, 7.
That sounded very rocky. Not a clean contact at all. And another excellent long pot.
I was going to say, very encouraging signs, fans of Neil Robertson, all the long pots that have been knocked in, and that'll be enough.
And 1 under frame.
So Neil Robertson leads Joe Perry by a frame to 0.
The second frame. Neil Robertson to break.
Robertson brings the end red down unintentionally from his break-off shot. Doesn't appear to have left that red to right middle though. Neil Robertson admitted that he changed his shot selection policy somewhat when he played the 15-year-old Chinese Yang Bintao in their group final. He did admit that he refused some long pots that he would normally take on, deciding to see how young Yang performed when faced with what Robertson describes as old-style snooker.
The Robertson 1.
The red that Robertson potted there, by the way, was unintentional. It was just a safety. There was no position on the colour to play for. But it was interesting, wasn't it, Neil, that Robertson thought it worthwhile changing his game for a 15-year-old?
I think the problem was he hadn't seen him play, and he was told that Sean Murphy had taken on a few shots against him. He didn't see the match, he was saying. Didn't quite tell the story. I thought Sean Murphy played okay. He was just beaten by a better player on the day in the end. He maybe went for 1 or 2. But Robertson, well, he's got a good all-round game. I do think he's stronger when he goes for his shots. And ultimately, he won the match. 6-3, so he didn't do anything wrong. It was only when he got to 4-3 though that I thought he started to play anywhere near his best, when he was being challenged.
I think the top class players have a knack of doing that. Robertson had been leading 4-1, that was reduced to 4-3, but then he engaged his higher gears and won 6-3.
Touch in ball. Touch in ball.
Once again, with a chance to play away, I don't think he can do an awful lot of damage here. He wanted to cover the red down the table on the left side, which means that Joe is forced to play into the bunch. I don't think he's going to play anything very flashy here, containing. These tables are so quick that if you do play off the side of the bunch to play safe up into bolt, you can push a red out near a pocket. We've seen one or two players do that this week.
Touch in ball.
But he's been on the tour a long time and he's fully aware of problems like that. So why should he take any risks? Anything he's doing wrong, keeps leaving it touching ball back for Neil, as was the case again there. I think there's a chance of a very similar shot once again, and Joe can get to that red this time, which he can, it seems.
Caught that thicker than intended, hence the kiss on that last red.
Yeah, the opening red though, if he pots it, he could go into the pink. It's not a certainty to go into an open position. He's just managed to avoid that. It's quite well played, actually. Just went across the side of the pink without hitting it. Could open the reds up, and indeed, probably more significantly, chance to push the black into play here from this if he does go into the bunch.
Six.
Not as good as he would like it to have been. Cue ball tight on the side cushion. Which will make both pot and position more difficult in this instance.
It's a fine shot. And very unfavourable kiss on the blue.
Yeah, that was the trouble though. Playing from tight on the rail, he could only use plain ball striking without any backspin or side spin. So he was dependent on the potting angle for where the cue ball was going.
He recovered this table last night. Notice when we was finishing up, it was all stripped down, the cloth was off, and they were getting it all ready with the brand new cloth for today. Playing conditions are absolutely fine.
Blue ball.
Balls haven't quite run as you'd hope they would yet.
Cheers. Joe Perry, 7.
Still slogging out at a safety opening to this second frame. No clear-cut chance yet. Always a chance of a mistake if you leave your opponent tight on the ball cushion at distance, but not that time.
Reds scattered to the point where it's very difficult to find a way back to the bulk here for Joe. I mean, there's reds on either side, either cushions, and that's what you want to avoid when playing this in safety, those sort of shots. This is going to test him. Don't think he's got the containing safety whether the cue ball ends up at this end of the table either, because there are two reds near the black spot, that is. So all in all, he's in trouble. This is going to have to be a good shot. I think he's swinging the cue ball round with left-hand side, coming inside the two reds. It's a good cue ball, but I don't know if he stuck the reds thin to the left middle. Played it well, but he hit it thick like that. You can never be sure where the reds are going to end up.
One.
Needed a bit of positional luck there. As it is, he's not got a direct shot at any colour. There's no easy hit on any colour from there.
Quite amazing, isn't it? The mess you can get into. All he did was cut that red thin to the middle. Didn't really know where the cue ball would finish, but how could he possibly think it would finish there? I'll be very interested to see what colour he nominates here, because it could be any of the six for me. Probably not the black, in that, unless he thinks he can get a thin edge off the black, because the black is at the wrong end of the table with all the reds there. Really is one where you wouldn't know which colour he'd try and nominate.
Well, it could be ball back several times, whatever colour he nominates. Robertson has already been thinking for just over 2 minutes.
I think he said yellow. Oh, that's a terrific shot. That was very good. And also, I mean, he just hit it full on. That was hard. That was a real tough one. Like you say, you could have given 16 or 20 points away there, comfortably trying to find a way out of that mess. That's a good shot. I think he played with a touch of right-hand side.
One.
The right-hand side was to straighten the cue ball up off the cushion so that he didn't cannon any other red.
Well, he's not missed a ball yet, Joe Perry. I can tell you that is 10 successful pots. He trails by a frame to nil. All I wanted to underline there was he really hasn't missed anything. Nothing's come his way. Here's his chance to build on that by actually getting a frame on the board.
14. 15. 21.
Even with the black not ideally situated, this is a possible frame winning chance.
Quite a good recovery that, because he wasn't perfectly on the red either. Oh dearie me.
Joe Perry, 22.
Where's that come from?
Those unforced errors when you're right in can cost you dearly.
Well, he really wasn't doing anything difficult with the cue ball there. That was a big surprise to me.
The only good thing about it is that the pink has finished in an unfavourable position, and with the black not ideally situated either, this is not the opportunity for Robertson that it might have been.
One.
Didn't intend to cannon that red either.
And he wants to keep the break going here.
Typically crunching long pot from Robertson.
Trouble is, it's so difficult to make a break with the colours where they
5.
are. Next red's not straightforward. No guarantees of being on anything. Yeah, take a minor miracle to clear up from here, I think.
Neil Robertson, 5.
Has he left Perry a path through to the red near the pocket? Remarkably, he has.
One.
It's going into the brown here, keeping it very simple. So there's no pot on.
Joe Perry, 1.
He's not entirely covered the right side. There's a couple of reds by the black.
a scruffy old frame this has become. Not a single colour on its spot. A situation seen more often in the lower divisions of a local league than on the professional circuit. That has fractionally improved the position of the pink. Perry still leads by 23.
I think he's looking at pushing this red towards the pink and getting the cue ball in behind the red to the left. Not bad. Neil's been knocking in a few of these long pots, but the one he was interested in, he's hampered slightly by the green, so he's playing the one I think that takes him back up the table. His percentage of those today is very high. I mean, he doesn't look in brilliant form, but make that 5 from 6 long pots already. It tells me he's cueing well. Of course, you can't do much when the balls go awkward.
Four. Five.
I'd love to get this black on its spot, but when it does spot, the red that's out in open play, 2 up from there, might be covered. So I'll go to the other side of the table, I think. That's a really good shot. That's so well played. And behind the red it goes. That side of the table.
12.
Just when you thought he was getting into a bit of rhythm there. Some nice shots to get
Robertson,
in.
12.
Well, that was a bad miss in the end. Nothing much to do really with the pockets being tight. He was more or less right behind that ball.
One. Three.
Could have done with a more creative cannon there.
Joe Perry, 3.
He has to be content for the moment with a lead of 14 and a good safety. intended to take the red to the side cushion.
That was a strange reaction. Yeah. Both Neil and Joe there looked a bit bewildered by that. See that one again. Goodness. Jumped up in the air and stayed over the hole.
But he didn't pot it flush.
No, no, it didn't bounce out. It just did react slightly oddly, though, after it wriggled. Anyway, there's a couple more awkward shots. Certainly the red down the rail is key at this next point. And it's all about the angle he gets, and well, he's a bit close to this, but he can afford to drop it in, and he'll get position anyhow on the black.
8.
Again, there's an element of difficulty about it. It's a tricky little angle, especially when you're that close. But he has to play it. He has to give it a chance. He's gone to the bottom of the cue ball. He's using a little bit of speed. And that adds to the difficulty, and he stuck it.
Neil Robertson, 8.
Well, he played that as a screw shot because he thought that if he did leave the red over the pocket, it might be covered by the black. But it isn't. Left himself a little bit too close to that red, I think.
One.
So Perry, despite leaving the cue ball a different side of the baulk line than he intended, has a chance to clinch the frame with the early colours.
5. Seven.
Yeah, it's just green and brown then. Very scrappy frame. It'll certainly get better. I think they're both in good form. He looks to be cueing well, but a bit of a spoiler of a frame, this one.
14.
One that Joe Perry's about to win.
An undistinguished frame of 31 minutes duration.
Joe Perry, 19.
Joe Perry has won it to equalise at 1-all. Well, I say that. 2 snookers to tie. Certainly Perry didn't think there was any prospect of Robertson coming back to the table, because he played the pink, not being able to get his eye line right behind it. But anyway, the pink drops in, so it is 1-all. Joe Perry spent about 10 years either just inside or just outside the elite top 16, and I thought that he'd reached a plateau, that was his standard, but in the last couple of seasons he's gone forward a couple of steps. Currently ranked 10th, has been as high as 9th, playing his best snooker in his 40s.
Yes, and I think Mark Davis, another one like that. He mentioned Mark Davis, a good pal of his, who is a 40-something now and playing his best snooker. I think Joe was always a little bit ahead of him, but it is a strange one how players have matured a bit later now than they perhaps did 10, 15 years ago. Almost similar to the early days of snooker that I remember, with the likes of Ray Reardon and John Spencer, Eddie Charlton. They weren't particularly young men, but they were at the top of their game, the kind of ages these guys are now.
Or even older. Fred Davis, a World Championship semi-finalist at the age of 64. Don't think we'll see that again.
No, and of course Steve Davis would have been the nearest thing you could have had to someone that would have gone that long, but Steve, I think, has just about given up the ghost now. He's playing in the odd tournament as a former champion, but not too many. This match is yet to really take off, but I suspect it will get better and better. There's been a couple of slow burners this week, which have ended up good ones. I think Joe's match with John Higgins fit that bill. It was a great finish. Neil Robertson finally is back in the arena now, and we're down to effectively a best of 9 from here.
Okay. The third frame, Joe Perry to break.
Even Robertson can't pot every long ball. Robertson first got on the tour when he was 16 as the 4th and last Oceania qualifier. He wasn't ready for it. Came over from Australia, based himself in Cambridge, but was relegated from the tour, but got straight back on by winning the 2003 World Under-21 Championship. Still had some hard times before he made an impact on the circuit, but he's certainly done that now, having amassed £2.7 million in prize money already.
Strange old shot, wasn't it? Because not playing on a ball, I've seen he went for it, and he's left it on. It would have had absolutely no value in the pot going in. Maybe he didn't play the pot.
One.
Better shot than it looked. Queuing out of the jaws of the pocket.
Five. Joe Perry 5.
Well, close to middle distance. Perry normally pots those. Full face of the pocket to go at. These players are playing W money today. They're already on £25,000 for reaching the semi-finals. The loser of tomorrow's final will get 50,000, and the champion of champions champion will get 100,000. Both these players have first-rate safety games. So I believe it will come down in the end today to who manages to score more heavily. This time a slightly better kiss than Neil has had. I think one or two nudges have gone a little awkwardly in the couple of frames we've had. The match has not got any real flow to it yet. Well, he's got the red to the middle at least, but maybe he's hoping to be on something else.
Four. 7. 8.
That's more like it. Nicely topside. It's a bit congested above the black spot there, actually. Those reds, they're all on, but they're one or two blocking each other.
Thirteen.
Just get the feeling he's one or two shots away from making this a great chance.
Fourteen.
48 seconds for that shot by the time he'd worked everything out. But sometimes
20.
there is a lot to work out. Not for the next shot, but a possible sequence of shots.
He clubbed that one, didn't he? It was all badly struck
Neil Robertson 20.
and out of character. The red is going over the top of the black. That is not in Joe's favour. That was a poor one. He hit it badly, didn't he, Clive?
He did. There was a ball to the other corner pocket. It was very easy that he missed badly as well in one of the earlier frames.
1.
Difficult to find an explanation for it.
Seven.
Robertson's pot success rate 81%, which is not as high as you would expect.
8.
Very 88%. Although of course some pots are more key than others.
$14. 15. 21. 22.
Okay.
27.
It's still going to be a feat, though, to manufacture a frame-winning break out of this.
$28.
Screw into the two reds a possibility, which he's just looked at. Red to middle. Needs good position for that to get more or less right behind it.
$33.
Oh, the red pot's to the middle. If he was right behind this straight, he would really fancy it. Oh, playing down the bottom, that was at least that's difficult, but at least you could see the pocket and his eye line on that way. Couldn't see the middle bag from there. Well, it's worked out okay.
Yes, in choosing baulk pocket as opposed to middle, he did know that he was
40.
going to leave an angle on the pink from which he could play a productive positional cannon.
41.
Needed to be a bit higher that time, though.
Played with right hand side, of course when it hits the second cushion it starts to check and goes the other way if you're not careful.
47.
Still a bit of work on here, 32 the lead, but red colour red he wants, and that will not be easy from this position. Not at this visit.
Joe Perry, 47.
Not a bad effort, though. Attempted that difficult red running away, taking the cue ball to the side cushion, from which he could have clipped in the blue had the red dropped.
One.
It was just a simple 1 point run away. What he doesn't want is to get anything safe. He might, I mean, he could have considered developing the black, but I don't know really how that would ensure him keeping the red safe. He doesn't want to put a colour safe, though, in whatever he plays here. I don't think he can gain any huge advantage. I think if he could, he'd like to leave this in a position where Joe Perry could only see one red, and that would be the red on the left of the black. If he could snooker him on the other red and make him play the red that's tying the black up, that I think would be the best he could do. Don't really see the point in that, personally.
Robertson, 1.
Because if he missed it near Joe, he could have put the pink safe.
Maybe he was thinking of potting the pink and doubling the red.
I'm certain he was doing that. They were all difficult shots. I think it was a question of trying to put the best safety shot in there he could find. Now, what does Joe do? Does he move the red by the black, or does he move the other one? He'd like to keep them both there, but he's got to play a shot. Can't pass on one. That's about fine. I think that's probably the best he could have hoped for. It's a decent shot.
Trademark long.
Shot of the match for me so far. Not that there's been that many great shots played, but this is wonderful cueing. And I think importantly, he finished top side of certainly the pink. If he wants to play that, he could go into the red and black here. This would be as good a shot if he got this right. But is it on? He's not sure. I don't know if he's worried about going round the back of them both. Big shot this one. If he gets this right, the frame could be his. Unlucky. You know, if he'd have flicked that black, Clive, it would have been probably the shot of the week. And it was closer than it maybe looked in the end.
7.
Yes, if he had managed to flick the black, I'm pretty sure he would have cleared up to win the frame. As it is, he's 24 behind with a nasty self-inflicted snooker.
Well, if he can hit this full on, I think from where he is, if he screws it, it'll remain a screw on the ball. But he could make things a bit difficult for Joe. Full ball contact he wants.
Neil Robertson 7.
Well, it's a very thin one to the middle, but he has looked at the angle. It wasn't as thin as that. That could have worked out a lot worse. He'll be pretty delighted with that outcome after playing it too thin.
I think he would have thought it impossible to overcut it.
Okay, 24 the lead, but it just might turn out that whoever pots this red wins the frame. Because there's really nothing else that's all that difficult at all.
Oh dear. Chance for Robertson to snatch the frame.
One.
I think there's a straight choice between putting the green or the brown here. The brown, getting the brown on its spot would be quite appealing, even though it's not in a bad position. Green, a stun across to get on the yellow is probably more difficult to pot, but both well within his compass. thing he's got to watch is when he pots the green, he doesn't want to get in the way, the pink and black to get in the way. Something to think about for the next shot.
6.
As long as he can finish over towards the left of centre of the table, I think he'll be fine. Has to play to the right side. There is always the chance he'll snooker himself.
Nine.
That's why he played it in the way that he did.
$13.
So again, a little bit in between. If it was straighter, he'd definitely play to the bottom, and he might still do that. Yep. He's got to get top spin on this to avoid the left middle bag or the jaws. And he's played it really well.
18.
It's been another awkward frame. But if Neil wins this, it'll be a real boost, I think, to his chances in the way that he's feeling. I actually think he's cueing well, but the few
24.
funny little shots that he's missed and a couple of nudges, it's a frame that he'll be delighted with. A real steal, this one, Clive.
Yes, Perry slipped his safety on the last thread just a little too thin. Robertson cleared it with 31 to win on the black and lead 2-1.
Frame 4. Neil Robertson to break.
So after 77 minutes play and 3 hard-fought frames, Neil Robertson breaks off, leading by 2 frames to 1. Perfect.
Yes, and big trouble as well, I think, Clive. He's quite a long way in behind that brown. Means he got a shot hitting quite deep into that cushion. Left cushion, I think, or right. But either way, it's twice across the table here. He'd love to get near them 2 reds down the bottom, in behind the black. But how do you get there? Here goes.
Foul.
I think this is probably where he tried actually to get in behind those 2 reds.
The problem that a player has playing out a snooker like that is that the first cushion seems to be square and the second cushion seems to be a slide.
I think that can only be based on how hard you hit the ball into the first cushion. Certain speed squares up and it slows down. On the second one it slips down. It's very difficult. You're absolutely right. And players have found getting out of snookers really difficult this week. These guys hardly ever miss snookers, but there's been a few that have gone astray.
6.
That's a good shot. He didn't play on that red.
7.
Certainly not in that way. But he could reach it, which was half the battle as a left-hander. $14. $15. $22. $23. $30. Two reds are a bit of a nuisance that are below the black. It gives him less shots from this side of that side of the table to avoid hitting them and getting onto the next red. I don't really think that was
31.
the angle he wanted though. It's just away from straight, above side of straight. That's okay. Choices now. Probably the top of the two reds close together to the middle,
38.
which brings the other one into the game.
$39.
If he were to cannon the left-hand edge of the left hand of the two reds, the other red would inevitably go towards the pocket.
$46. $47. Sure. 54.
Highest break of the match. Tells you that the standard up until then had been a bit up and down.
Yes, a lot of tactical play in the first 3 frames.
$55. $62. $63.
I guess you've got to be patient at this game, and if things aren't working out, you've just got to keep trying and
70.
plugging away until a little bit of fluency arrives. And I think we're at that point now with Neil Robertson, albeit he'll take a 15-minute break at the end of this frame, so that's where it'll end for the time being.
71. $78. $79.
The season before last, Neil Robertson made 103 centuries. He's the only player to make a century of centuries in one season. He started this week
86.
on a career total of 425.
$87.
Well, you can see it's been a controlled
94.
break with 11 blacks and just 1 blue amongst the 12 reds. Suggests that he's always been
95.
at this end of the table, the business end of things.
$102.
145 on.
$103.
Which would make him favourite for the highest break prize if there was one. Possible 144 now as the pink disappears.
109. $110.
Low on the black, so the angle is a natural to get up for the yellow. He's going to make a break of 144. He probably
117.
needs to get high up the table from yellow to green. Well, he's made sure of that.
119.
Good thinking. Makes position on the brown a lot easier than where he is.
$122. 126. $131.
Robertson patiently built a 2-1 lead.
137.
And in this frame, engaged overdrive as he compiled a total clearance of 144 to lead by 3 frames to 1 at the mid-session interval.
What a clearance from Neil Robertson, who takes an early lead in this semi-final. He seems to have found his rhythm, but still a chance for Joe Perry to get involved. We'll hear the thoughts of Alan McManus after the break.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back Joe Perry and Neil Robertson.
Either Robertson or Perry to play the winner of this evening's semi-final between Kyron Wilson and Mark Allen in tomorrow's final.
Frame 5. Joe Perry to break.
Robertson's long potting has been very good today. %, that's a very good statistic for pots of 6 feet or more, and that was quite a bit more.
Wouldn't have minded carrying on at 3-1, I'd say, after knocking that beautiful break of 144 total clearance there. The heavyweight contribution, isn't it, when you get into the big I-140s with a break. It doesn't happen all the time. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen here because he's come out of position already.
No, Robertson 8.
He's gone heavy-handed there, more so probably hitting it a bit thin. Either way, he's given Neil a long red. Probably got to play one good shot to turn this into an opportunity.
One.
Interesting. Looks like he tried to run it around 2 cushions. I thought it's a 1 cushion shot to get behind the red. It's kind of in between both angles by the looks of things where he's finished. And if he'd have been straight on this, it would have been easier. He might have ploughed through the bunch. It's a very difficult shot if he plays it. Yeah, I'm not surprised he missed that, Clive. That was not easy to get the position,
Robertson,
more so than
8.
the pot.
Well, he was almost tight on the rail, and he had to hit it hard to get through the second and third reds. Not surprised he missed that.
One. Six.
Another difficult shot here if he plays it. And he's got up once, but trying to screw this red in off the bunch, maybe onto the black. Again, there's got things that could go wrong on this shot. And that was one of them. The miss, the pot could have been missed. Sadly, position also has been unsuccessful there. Unfortunately, these players make that shot look easy a lot of the time. There's a recovery blue to a bottom corner, but as we saw there, they're not easy.
And there's a lot of pressure on it. Perry is 3-1 down. Okay, he knew if he potted the blue, he was going to be on an easy red, but equally, he knew that if he missed it,
One.
he would be letting Robertson in again with the chance of another big break.
Seven.
Well, he's in again now, with the reds nicely spread. That sounded heavy.
8.
All it's done is stop the cue ball about a width of a ball from going through where he wanted.
I wouldn't be all that surprised if Robertson made another century here. But it's never easy to do that, as easy as the top players make it appear.
$15.
He's a bit restricted if
16.
he's going to make a century at this stage by the red stopping the black going to the left corner. Once that's gone, then you look at the table, you see the red along the cushion rail and nothing else. That's very difficult. Oh, goodness me. No century, Clive, and a very surprising
Neil
miss.
Robertson, 16.
Yes. Basic straight pot to middle. Put it slightly on the near jaw. Perry's got to make the most, though, of that mistake from Australia's finest.
One. Five. Six.
Very nearly overdid it.
$13. 14. 21. 22.
'There are three basic ways of getting in for a break.
28.
You can pot a good initial ball. You can win a safety exchange. Or, as in this
29.
case, your opponent can miss unexpectedly when he's right in.
Well, he's probably still thinking about
36.
that very easy shot he missed, pink to left middle. And he's right behind it.
So much for the so-called easy reds. He needs both the more difficult ones to clinch the frame at this visit.
$44. Joe Perry 44.
That was a tough shot, and he played it as if he didn't expect to pot it.
Yeah, a bit of extra speed on it, wasn't it? Playing it the way that he did, and he's got to be extremely accurate. He's not won this frame yet. 19 points where the balls are once again. He's not a great deal. We saw Neil Robertson pinch one earlier on in a probably not dissimilar situation to this. Came down to almost who potted the next ball from here. I think it does again, to be honest, because very little is difficult.
Judged that well to clip off the edge. Another Robertson special though. Even if he's not left a colour from which he can readily gain position on the remaining red.
He might be able to get round off the yellow. It's got into the cue ball too much, I think. There was had possibilities about it, that shot. But it's time to slip in a very subtle and good safety shot here. That's not quite it.
Robertson 3.
It's okay though.
Yes, would have been behind the blue if the cue ball hadn't snicked it. Getting the red all the way around for a chance of a snooker. Good job from Robertson's point of view that the cue ball didn't drop in, because Perry would have had an easy starter from the D. Robertson steps aside to allow the referee, Paul Collier, to memorise just exactly where the cue ball is in relation to other balls, in case he has to do a ball replacement job.
Well, I don't know what he's looking at here. Now he can get over that side unless he plays a big swerve. Looking to maybe hit the... Must be able to see a tiny bit of it. He's got to hit quite a lot of side on this to get...
Foul.
And he was kind of aiming to hit some of the red. It didn't look easy, and that's
Joe Perry 6.
not really changed
ball.
much. It would have been a free ball anyway. I think he needs quite a lot of side. I mean, this new cloth on here, and trying to get that sort of amount of side to grip is not easy. That left-hand side that he had on a brand new cloth, where they'd seem to slide along the rail a bit.
Free ball because the non-offender can't hit both edges of the ball on. He can nominate any colour as an extra red.
Yeah, he's got almost a free shot here, because he's probably going to leave a snooker should he miss this. But if he gets it, as you've seen, he has done. Counts as a red. Got a shot here on probably the green, I'd say, to get up for the last red.
1.
That'll do.
4.
Just red and colour needed.
5. $12. 14. 17.
The key moment of this frame, I felt, was Robertson missing a very simple ball when he was right in.
21.
He lost control of the frame there. So instead of taking his chance for 4-1, because that's what it
26.
was, early in the frame as it was,
$32.
Perry has reduced his arrears to a single frame. Joe Perry clears up with 39, but
the frame, Joe Perry.
still trails by 3 frames to 2.
Frame 6. Neil Robertson to break.
A little bit speedy, but I don't know what he's left. Not very much, I don't think. A couple of reds he might be able to put to the right corner. that Joe has left, although I don't think he'll play them. No way of getting on a colour.
The ability to consistently return the cue ball to within an inch or so of the ball cushion is extremely valuable.
Foul. Neil Robertson, 4.
Would have been a decent containing safety had he managed to leave the cue ball down in the right hand corner. Oh, and Robertson thought that was in.
Yeah, it was always bottom jaw, wasn't it? He thought it was going to drop. We have seen, I think, all week that these pockets are not all that generous. I didn't think it looked in, to be honest, from what we've seen all week.
The pockets are always the same width on a championship table, but the approach to them, the jaws, there's some variation there between one table and another.
Eight. Nine.
The tighter the pockets,
16.
the more important it is to keep close control of the cue ball.
$17.
We'll be looking a couple of shots ahead at this point, because he's probably going to roll the red to the middle and play on the blue from here. So then he thinks about the following red.
.23.
Which could be the ones sticking out on either side of the bunch. Well, he's got
24.
quite wide on the blue here, which means he could probably screw into them gently if he wished to. I don't see him using a lot of force. Wow, that's a sin. Divided concentration, I think, thinking about getting on the next red and doing forgetting the obvious, which was the pot.
He still shouldn't have missed the blue, but he left it just a shade thinner than he intended to.
1. Four. Five.
The plant was smack on.
The jaw, the middle pocket, though, has made him very straight, or even the other side of being straight on the blue, which means he can't get near the next red from that ball anyhow. There it is. Just gently going away from the reds, the angle. Right, look at the brown. Robertson's good at that shot, stunning it all around the table. That's a good shot. That could, if he's straight on this red, well, I'll tell you what, that is absolutely perfect, and a great spot that one was on. Just can simply run it through now, and he's in amongst them.
Ten. $17. 18. 25. 26.
All these arising from Perry's failed easy blue to middle. Concentrating on position. Oh, he's gone wrong there, though.
I don't know what he played. He looks a bit surprised by the reaction.
33.
And the loose red available on the left. Yes, it's left him a more difficult shot. Still not entirely sure what the plan was on that previous shot, why he would go anywhere near hitting that pink. And look at the shot he's left with now. This is horrible. Well, I think that's good and bad from that. I don't believe he's on the black. The red has covered it, which is always a pitfall of playing a shot, a cannon like that. You don't know where the ball that you're trying to cannon will end up. So the pressure starts to mount because you've got to play another good shot.
Blue to middle, possibly, rather than the pink. Wow.
Neil Robertson, 34.
Both players have missed blue to that pocket in this frame. Perry comes to the table with 4 of the 5 remaining reds in eminently possible positions.
One.
But if he's to win the frame at this visit, he would need the red currently residing on the black cushion.
Eight. Nine.
Well, on screen
16.
it looks too thin to cut that red back. I'm not so sure how it looks from behind the cue.
Well, it's pretty thin, Clive.
17.
Because you have to give it a bit of a whack to get enough power onto the object ball. And as a consequence, had no idea where the cue ball was going to end. Anybody's this frame, isn't it? I must admit,
17.
I'm sure he for a split second wondered if it was going to reach.
Yes, we've had 1 or 2 non-reachers with that type of shot this week. Often it can turn a frame with a self-inflicted snooker.
Foul. And a miss. Joe Perry, 4.
Well, that was quite a considerable miscalculation from Robertson, attempting an escape.
Okay. Foul.
At least as far away as the previous one, if not more.
just get through past the brown. It was very tight, but... Okay.
It's not like the old days when if you failed to escape from a snooker, you just failed. There was no ball back rule to enforce, or at least,
Foul. And a
or at
miss,
least
Joe Perry,
if
7.
there was, it wasn't enforced very often.
No, I mean, before the miss rule was as it is now, if anyone, a referee ever replaced the balls, the guy that had been penalised was almost enraged by it. And the rules are very different now. I think this is not an easy one to hit. Can't really get very easily to the one on the right. He's not really looking very much like he will hit it either.
The miss, Joe Perry, 4.
And he's giving away, was it 19 points now? I make it.
To leave Perry 22 in front. Maybe with more penalty points to come.
Oh, that hurts.
Foul. And a miss, Joe Perry, 7.
Joe is watching on, but Neil is muttering under his breath. He got close to hitting that one, actually.
Okay.
This is a horrible shot. Can't even see the ball he's trying to hit with his eye line, looking away from it. Well... I think the good thing there is I don't ever like to see a player end up losing the frame just because he keeps missing snookers like that. I don't think it's a very satisfactory end to a frame. Everything else about the miss rule is, I guess, right.
I don't see how it can be, how it could be phrased differently, though. It's just one of those things. And at the end of it all, Robertson did manage to get everything safe.
Probably you've got, and I'm a fan of the miss rule as well, is that it's not as if he was trying to avoid going an easy way to take a difficult shot onto, so he didn't leave anything. That was kind of the only way he could go. That is a good shot. And he has an angle to come up the table, albeit it would help if he was a right-handed player for the shot that he might be left with down that rail.
That was so well controlled. He had to take the cue ball as near as possible to the pink without actually touching it.
I wonder if he can get the rest in line with this. Sometimes it's a little bit awkward when you're in this position. Let's just see. There used to be a little implement that players used to put on there in their case to make the shot reachable. You used to see it about once every 10 years used. This would be an instance maybe. You can just get to this, but it's really awkward. It's because the rest just can't slide along that rail to the line of the shot. Well, this would be a
9.
very telling clearance if he made it. And it's the kind that I've seen Neil Robertson make before. That wasn't very well struck. Just limped into the pocket, that one.
13. $15. $18.
So despite conceding a couple of minutes ago 26 points in fouls, trying to escape from a really tough snooker,
22.
Robertson is still on course to take this frame. This is the key shot.
Yes, I think he wanted to be a little straighter on this. Got to go up and down.
$27.
A little bit pacey, but well within his capabilities to knock this in and get on the black.
Hasn't managed to
33.
hold black ball position though.
Oh, what a dramatic conclusion
Touching ball.
to the frame. You don't see that very often, Clive. Touching ball on the last black, do you? I can't remember it all that often. I mean, it's not bad that he's finished touching, although he's obviously very disappointed not to have got on it. He's going to make it a little awkward for Joe Perry here. I think he wants the cue ball in line with the black, so the up and down safety is not easy.
Neil Robertson, 33.
Pretty good, yeah, but disappointed not to have made the clearance though, because it would have been an absolute beauty.
Didn't get quite right on the pink.
Now the players often play this shot now. It really leaves you with a difficult shot. Often the little containing shot back to the cushion is all you have here, and that doesn't really put your opponent in trouble. That's the shot I was speaking about, but you feel that you've kind of lost the advantage, but at least kept him safe for one. I guess the good thing here, Clive, is that he's put the black very near to the cushion, so Joe's not really got an easy up and down or come back safety shot of his own.
This black ball decider decides whether it's 4-2 to Robertson or 3-all. That was an attempted length of the table double, but if it didn't go in, Perry was expecting the black to finish on the cushion between the baulk pocket and the middle pocket. However, this is for 4-2. Safely in. So Neil Robertson leads Joe Perry by 4 frames to 2.
We're just waiting for the players to come back in to get the 7th frame underway. Neil Robertson against Joe Perry in this semi-final. Robertson with a 4-2 lead at this stage. It is well poised, but Robertson at the moment, is it fair to say, Alan, in the driving seat?
Yeah, I mean, the last 2 red clearance, virtual clearance there, to go 4-2 up was really top drawer, wasn't it? There was 3 shots in a row actually that were right as good as a shot as he's played in the match, and he's opened up the 2-frame gap again, which Joe would have been feeling good. If he gets back to 3-all there, maybe we've got a new favourite, but you know, Neil winning that black ball game there. Joe actually played a decent shot in the black, but just a hair too much pace, left it over the middle, and it's going to be a long road back for Joe now, but as we've said, he's playing well.
Frame 7, Joe Perry to break.
Quite a big difference between 4-2 and 3-all. And it all hinged on the black in the last frame.
Well, it's a funny old shot to go for. Okay, it's good to it went in. He might have stuck the red he played, but it was hard to see which colour he could have landed on. Cue ball collided into a number of balls.
Yellow ball.
Yellow is nominated.
Neil Robertson 1.
Needed a swerve to hit it. Robertson has potted very well from distance in this match.
Both of them have, but I think Robertson's stats are
6.
better. 13 from 16 compared to 4 from 6 for Perry. So, as Clive pointed out, he's been accurate on a lot of them, and it has been noticeable. And it's been lacking from his game in the last 6 months or so. So the signs are he is playing himself into some form. He is missing a couple up at close range. But I think just gradually warming up for the season.
She started rather half-heartedly, having taken 5 weeks off back home in Australia, and his early results weren't up to much. Not even in his beloved Australian Open. Australian enthusiasts are desperate for him to win it, and he has been in the final, but he lost his first match this year, and he's yet to win the title.
$19. 20.
Oh, that's a good shot. Beautiful. There's a very narrow little target there. The bunch was sort of long and narrow, and if he'd have hit that hard, he would never have got this shot. It's well worth a look at this again. That is just what you want to see, Clive, isn't it?
A precision cannon on the apex ball. So often the secret of opening the bunch to advantage.
$26.
Well, he made that 1-4-4 break, but then the interval came out looking a little bit as he was at the start of the match. But I do think winning that last frame, a frame he could easily have lost, just put a little bit of wind into his sails. Just
31.
crept on a bit there though, isn't it? He might be able to cut one back in, but he's hoping for something better.
He seemed to play it well enough, but the end result could have been better.
$32. $35. $36.
I don't know. It's a similar thing happened in the previous frame. He
43.
played a little, what looks to be a fairly basic cannon, and he got it all wrong, and he's done the same.
Yes, made the cannon far too thickly. Thinner contact, and he slips by to take red to left corner.
Neil Robertson, 43.
So he has to stick on 43, 44-0. Still a reasonable start to this 7th frame, trying to increase his lead to 5-2.
One.
How straight is the yellow? Well, so straight that it doesn't look as if he can do much with it. Maybe he can just about pop the yellow in one side of the pocket and run through off the other side of the pocket. Maybe getting the cue ball to where his cue is pointing there would be the best he could do.
It was absolutely dead straight. Yeah, and he's got the red at the bottom. I don't know if those two reds make into a plant. Well,
3.
not far away. Looks like it's left jaw, so it's hit the first red a little thin. Thinner than the potting angle if the other red wasn't there.
Possibility of significant counter-attack now.
9. 10. 17. 18. 25. 26.
Looking a little further down the line, if he is clearing up, you'll need deep into the colours.
33.
And yellow to green mightn't be that easy with the green below its spot and being hidden a
34.
bit by the brown, depending on where he finishes on the yellow. That's not for him to think about just yet, but it's going to come into his mind soon.
$41. 42.
That's a very solid strike. He's on the blue with just the right angle. Let's see which way he goes here. Oh, not straight. That's the thing, he does not want to be straight.
47.
Well, he's got an angle to just done across. Green into the same pocket.
Tap.
Couldn't have played it a lot
49.
better. Very good.
$52.
Robertson was first in with 43.
56.
But lost position, and now Perry needs only the blue to leave Robertson needing a snooker.
He's taken these very well.
61.
Doesn't really look like missing to this point.
Well,
Joe Perry 61.
he was well enough on the pink, but Robertson's first task is to keep the pink out.
Neil Robertson 6, frame Joe Perry.
He couldn't do it. So in the end, Perry's 61 break was enough. Robertson still leads though by 4 frames to 3.
The 8th frame, Neil Robertson to break.
Now that was stroked in very nicely.
With an angle as well on this if he wants to go into the bunch. Doesn't need to with one red out though, and I guess he feels But he can spread them here, but he's finished so low on this that, goodness, he will spread them. He wanted him to be much straighter. The pot's got to be given a lot of consideration here. He didn't play a very good shot on the black, actually.
Joe Perry, 8.
That's a pity.
Robertson snookers on the red, which is on the pocket, but with a well-controlled swerve, he should be able to pot it and then leave himself a cut back black.
One.
Well, played it another way, which was probably better, although the end result wasn't good. Played for a very thin contact at speed, so that he didn't have to play the cutback.
This is where a referee would decide that he's got a clear shot at one of the colours, which is the black. But how on earth do you get to that? A pair of step ladders, I think, to climb on the table. He is tall, though, but he can't really see. His head's not in line or anything. It's just a bit of guesswork.
Neil Robertson, 1.
Very important frame, they all are, but that man just been put under pressure by his good friend Joe Perry with that 61. It was a really good break that Joe knocked in when it looked for all the world like it was going 5-2. All of a sudden the match is still very much alive.
An attempted long red, but needed to be a slightly thicker potting angle to make it feasible to hold for black. Very good. Twice Perry has been 2 frames behind. Twice he's reduced that to only 1 frame. He wants to win this one to get level for the first time since 1-all.
Six. Joe Perry, 6.
Not easy, and hasn't left anything easy. Quite a long way out for him. Well, that was a bit of a peculiar shot. Is there a possibility that Perry could have forgotten there was a red down there?
It's a strange one, wasn't it? But I've seen it done before, Clive. I forget that there's a ball on the table. I've actually seen it done where someone will pop the black and play out for the yellow and not realise there's still a red on the table. I've had that before. You could be right. I'll have to ask him on that one, but it was an odd shot. You're right. Why would he play up there when that red's there? And to be honest, he could be in a bit of trouble after this.
Robertson lays the snooker on that red and sends that red to the vicinity of the pocket. That was difficult, and there was pressure on it because he was always leaving the one to the baulk pocket if he missed it.
One. Four. Five.
Not on the black though.
No, he's urging it up there, wasn't he, up the table?
Pink ball.
Probably a good shot to open up the pink and the blue and bring them into play, I would say. Oh, he's played
Robertson,
it
five.
very nicely, actually. That's a great shot. So, very positive safety shot, that one, for me. Always helps when you've got a couple of balls in the bulk area that are close together. The pink and green became a big target for Neil to get in behind. There may be a tiny gap through the middle, actually. Paul Collier was having a look. The referee, of course, if he had to put them back, he'd be best placed to do so.
Foul. Neil Robertson, four.
Too thick a contact, and worse still, has left a red on the pocket, albeit from distance. Robertson considering how difficult it would be to hold for black ball position.
1.
Such easy cue power to generate that amount of backspin from distance.
So many times today the balls have just nudged each other and gone awkwardly. There was a situation where he played a great shot on the red, cannon on the black, and now the break's over again.
Still early days in this 8th frame of a possible 11.
And Robertson 8.
Not one of Robertson's very best, that. Perry has unimpeded cueing. The cue ball isn't tight on the baulk cushion. So I wasn't all that surprised
1.
that Perry knocked that in.
Five. Six. $11. $12.
Can Perry cannon the 3 reds and retain position on the red already loose? Didn't have to.
19.
Just looking at that
20.
last shot, I think the top red of the two will pop to the right corner, which would of course free up the other one. We might play the cannon here though, actually, that you were speaking about, Clive. Yeah, that's very nice. 3 reds into play.
20.
Without worrying too much about the 2 that are on the cushion,
28.
because his lead would be, he takes high value colours with them, more than 43 points.
$35. 36.
And he won't be playing the cannon unless he's absolutely got no alternative. He'll be playing on the loose one here. Whereas if he was behind, he would try and nudge them out.
$43. 44.
40 in front. Imperative to make sure of the black without any positional heroics.
one snooker to tie.
51.
Robertson, in other words, not out of the frame. I'm looking once again at the green and the pink, which we used earlier in the frame,
Joe
and now
Perry,
the blue and the
51.
brown, where they are. I wouldn't say that this frame is his yet, but he's gone a long way to winning it and living in the match. 4 all, and we'll be in for a very exciting, if you like, best of 3. But like I say, not quite over yet. And I would say that Joe, if he had to, or he had the chance, would move that red that's underneath the black spot sooner rather than later.
Oh dear, Perry nearly committed the unforgivable sin, going in off from an unsnookered position when your opponent needs a snooker.
Yeah, but he's lucky twice, wasn't he? Because even then, if he'd have left the red on, Neil could have got red, black, and got an easy snooker behind the black, or fairly easy. As I say, it's not quite over yet, unless he can cut this in. Then I suspect it will be. He can't cut it in. See, that's the point. There's a lot of snookering balls. I mean, the table could hardly be better for trying to get snookers. Those colours up the other end of the table. So there will be 1 or 2 warning signs going out for Joe. But I don't think it's over. I think it's over now. And this match, once again, proving to show a few twists and turns.
1.
Perry looks the stronger now, but Robertson is known to raise his game when he needs to.
Eight.
Joe Perry was 4-2 down.
Joe Perry 8 and the frame.
But has won 2 frames in succession to level the match at 4-all.
Frame 9. Joe Perry to break.
So after losing the last 2 frames, can Neil Robertson reassert himself?
Well, that tells me that he's certainly capable of it. It was a great long red. He used to move up a gear. There was that brilliant 144 break, but it been a bit in and out in between that. There's another example. It's not perfect here. He's on this red, but he's having a little bit of a problem controlling the cue ball.
Nine.
Are either of the 2 reds right of picture possible? Just about. Though as it turned out, Robertson had got just enough angle
14.
to get on the red to the other corner.
15.
Very solid effort there going into the bunch. They haven't really split
22.
as well as the shot probably deserved. But he's on one to the middle, and it's just a question of putting it and controlling the cue ball to keep the break going, because it's quite thin.
This looks a natural cannon onto the pink.
Say it was, but of course for that
23.
reason he went low on the cue ball, take it wider. He's actually on the pink now. Don't know if the pink spot is free. The blue would be if it isn't. Yes, it'll go on there. Doesn't really get in the way of anything much either.
29.
Better off there than anywhere else.
.30.
All from a trademark Robertson long red.
That's the split he really wanted. Going to the bunch, the
37.
red comes back down as it did there. And
38.
whether he has mentally made his mind up to be more positive, but he seems to have gone up a gear. Just because Perry had got back from 2-2 to 4 each. 4-2 to 4 each, rather.
Sure. 45.
Well, Perry's done nothing wrong in this frame. He's just left a long red, so it needed a very good shot to get in.
46. .53. 54. 61.
That was a big surprise.
Neil Robertson, 61.
61 is not enough. He is just missing the odd ball that he can't really understand why, inexplicably.
One.
I don't know about the clearance here. There's a couple of awkward balls, but it's not much else than a couple. And if he lost this frame, goodness, how would he feel?
I'm certain Perry wasn't expecting another chance in this frame.
8.
It was just a basic red to corner that Robertson missed.
9. $16. 17. 24. 25.
'Could pot the pink and play to move the red on the left-hand side cushion, retaining position on the red in the middle of the table, but decided not to do that.
Yes, he's a bit short though, where he wanted to be. I guess if he'd have missed that red on the left, he
31.
might have drifted a bit too far down the table. But things do start to get more tougher from here on in.
$32.
Okay then, so much for the open reds.
I reckon that's as good as he could have played. Maybe not quite as firmly.
37.
But really, if he goes for this, it's a very difficult shot. So it's only 50-50 whether he does, I say.
Joe Perry, 37.
These pockets are playing tight down the rail, so I'm not surprised he didn't go for that. Robertson still 24 in front. The match has been in progress just over 3 hours. An easy opportunity here for Perry to snooker Robertson behind the pink.
Well, yeah, I think he tried to push it under the cushion, but it went a little too fast, and it's not an easy first red, this, but he'll have to play it.
Not very near, so here's a frame clinching chance for Robertson.
Needs both reds.
One.
He's got to be a little careful. Obviously, red doesn't pass the green, and that would be the pocket he'd choose from here if that wasn't there. So does he play on into the right middle? Again, the cue ball somewhere in the D. That's a possibility. There are other ways he can go. That'll do.
6. Seven.
Robertson was first in with 61 from a long red. He let Perry back in
10.
by missing unexpectedly, and the frame was in doubt for a while,
12.
but now Robertson, through potting the last two reds with colours plus the yellow, has put it beyond rescue.
15. 19. 24. 24 on the frame.
Neil Robertson is one up with 2 to play. He leads Joe Perry by 5 frames to 4.
Well, Neil Robertson leads Joe Perry by 5 frames to 4, but Joe Perry, my goodness me, Alan, has battled his way back into this semi-final, hasn't he?
He has. I mean, he's just missed a trick there. It was almost taking the same kind of shape as his match against John Higgins, in that he's been getting stronger as the match wore on, and Neil let him off the hook badly there, missing that red on 61. And as I say, it was a good chance. It was a tough second last red, but if he knocked it in, you would have fancied him to go on and win the frame and go 5-4 up, and you couldn't have seen him losing from there. But Neil, being the strong player that he is, he's been here before, plenty of experience, and you know, as I say, seen it all before. You expect him to close the match out now, but still, it's on a knife edge.
That's Neil back into the arena. As you say, he'll be keen to wrap this one up. That's him, just a bit of sustenance. Always interesting when you see the players eating through a match, but we've been playing now for, well, over 3 hours, so it's a long old haul. In comes Joe Perry, so we'll get the 10th frame underway now in the company of Neil and Clive.
The 10th frame, Neil Robertson to break.
Neil Robertson has never been behind this afternoon, but he's never been comfortably in front either. Twice he's led by 2 frames, 3-1 and 4-2. Joe Perry caught him at 4-all, but now Robertson is within a frame of victory at 5-4.
That was a great shot. I didn't really have the easy up and down safety. I don't see too many better pots than this. Hand on the cushion rail. He has played well at long range today. That's the one part of his game that's been absolutely superb.
He's potted 16 long pots out of 19 attempts, which is very, very good.
Unfortunately, it wasn't a natural to go into that bunch of reds. Well, don't tell me he's discovered a plant that he knew nothing about. He's had a little look. Don't think anything's on there.
Neil Robertson 4.
If he'd have been with a bit more angle on that green, Keeble would have gone quicker into the reds. He had to force it,
Touch
an
and ball.
unnatural angle, and didn't get that close to going into them, really.
Cue ball relatively near the ball cushion, so Perry can't generate any backspin. If he goes for this red, he's got to get it. And that's why he was always going to scatter the bunch.
I think the problem was the red actually came back into the bunch again, and Keeble might have been embedded in them and safe otherwise. Well, Robertson is fully aware of the situation. He's at the table with a half chance or better. With one frame needed, it's in his own hands. Usually, when he sees the winning line, he doesn't really need a second invitation from here.
Robertson is usually a pretty good finisher of matches. Against Yan Bingtao in the quarterfinals, he was 4-1 up. That was reduced to 4-3, but he then played two very good frames to win 6-3.
Six. Seven.
Nice recovery, that.
$13. 14. $21. $22. $29. $30.
Would have liked to have gone a bit further than that. That's not so easy to hold for the next red, the one that's just below it. Played it well.
$35. $36.
The key moment of this frame is approaching, and that moment is what's going to happen when Robertson opens the bunch.
Yes, and when's he going to try? Not here. He might have played into them off one cushion if the red wasn't on the left rail there, because I'm not sure how he can get beyond that. So he'll play on the other loose one. And as Clive said, those 6 reds all tied up need to be shifted. They're going to be potted.
41.
It's a handy lead already. And when you think about it, from 4-4, he has moved up a gear. He missed a bad red on 61 in the last frame, but nothing else to speak of. So that moment
42.
is with us into the bunch. If he lands on something and spreads them, and he's in the final.
$47.
Only downside there is the other red that's stopped the black from going to the right corner. Otherwise, this next shot will be simple.
$48. $53. $54.
Developing 2 more reds out of that small cluster Robertson closing in on victory, but he's still not quite there.
No, I think he could get on the right-hand red that we saw there on the table. That one there, down below the pink. If he finished top side of where the blue is, he shaped up about there, I was trying to say. But there's other ways as well. Well, it's frame ball because there's 59 remaining when this red goes
59.
down. So I don't suppose he minds being where he is.
He's made the cut back and got the cue ball in and out of baulk for choice of low value colour.
Ramble. .64.
So Joe Perry has made a great effort this afternoon.
65.
He's played well, but he could never get his nose in front. The highlight of this afternoon,
72.
I guess, was Robertson's 144
73.
total clearance to lead 3-1. He also led 4-2. Perry fought back to 4-all. But Robertson has finished very strongly in these last two frames.
80. 81. Neil Robertson, 81.
And with that break of 81, Neil Robertson completes a 6-4 victory over Joe Perry to qualify for tomorrow's final.
So Neil Robertson into uncharted territory, his first Champion of Champions final. He's beat Joe Perry by 6 frames to 4, and we'll hear from Neil after the break.